Welcome to Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin. This part of the show is underwritten by the Southwest Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. And I'm glad to welcome to the show John Ramsdell. John, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
John, you have been employed with Lear, and now you are no longer employed with Lear, and you become a student.
Yep, that's correct.
Is that fun?
Fun? Yeah, it's.
Is that a lot of work?
It's fun. It's intimidating. It's scary, but it definitely is fun. It's fun to be able to go back and revisit being a college student. I had previously attended URock in the 80s, and so it's fun to go back and kind of, I guess, redo it the right way with a little bit more adult focus.
How was the transition? How did it go as far as actually going from being at Lear to now being at URock? What steps did you have to go through to get from here to there?
Well, there was a whole series of meetings with people from the workforce development, job service. The benefit program that I'm under, it's actually two. There's the dislocated worker program, and then the TAA, which is a training agreement that I also fall under. And so there was a lot of meetings and approving me going back to school, and the training that I was going into, it had to fit all the guidelines. And so there was it was quite a transition, and I was laid off in December, the end of December 2008, and I was in school by January in 2009, January 24th. So there was a lot of things to get done, and there was a lot of people at that time between GM and Lear that were all going through the same thing. So it was really stressful, but it got worked out, and with basically a couple hours to spare, I got into school.
Did you have to fill out a lot of the paperwork yourself, or did you have some assistance with that? Or
it was mostly done in group sessions, and then there would be groups of 40 or 50 from Lear or Lear and GM. They would be going through the same steps, and that's with that many people. It was just a lot of people in the pipeline at the same time that I was. So I was lucky that I got started when I did.
And you decided to become an elementary school teacher.
Yes.
Which is somewhat unusual from, I think, where most people would decide that they were doing one thing and now they're going to be elementary school teacher. What made you think that that this is where you wanted to career choice you wanted to pursue?
Well, I just in my history, I was a school bus driver back in the 80s, and I knew at that point that I enjoyed working with the kids, and it wasn't something that I found taxing on me. It's something I actually drew energy from and enjoyed that aspect. And then just after kind of self-evaluation and looking at, hey, I'm losing my job at Lear, what do I want to do? And I knew that I didn't want to just immediately hit the pavement and start looking for another factory job. And I felt like I had a 17-year gaping hole in my resume now because I didn't have really an assembly job. Didn't give me what I felt a huge bunch of marketable skills. So I knew I wanted to pursue training or education, and so I thought, okay, what do I want to do with that? And I had taken several tests, aptitude and interest tests, and teacher, coach, church and school administrators were always high on the list, always in the top 4. And I started thinking about teacher, and also losing my job made me kind of reevaluate my life and my priorities. And I thought, I've spent 17 years at Lear, and I made a decent wage. Would I like to do something stockbroker or something is money very important to me? And I realized, no, that the most rewarding things about my job was working with people, and it wasn't all the amount of money or benefits. So
what you did is you looked at your experience at Lear as well as all the tests that you've taken, if I understand correctly, and you found what was the thing that was most enjoyable to you.
Yes, yep.
And then you zeroed in on that and said, how can I keep doing what I enjoy doing? And that's where the education part of it came in such a good piece of the puzzle.
Yep, exactly.
And how long is the program designed for at UROC? Is that something that you can be, it sounds like probably you need a bachelor's degree, I would think, or?
Yeah, it's a combination of you need a bachelor's degree and then you need to be licensed, or you have to go through the licensure program. And that's, I will have to continue from UROC to Whitewater to get my bachelor's degree, and then I will also have my license, my teaching license.
When do you anticipate having all of that ready to go?
Well, if everything falls together perfectly.
Like it always does in life.
Right. 2011, that hopefully by June of 2011.
That's pretty aggressive. Were you able to transfer some of the coursework that you did before towards this degree?
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why I did qualify for the benefit programs that I'm in, was because that I already had started work on my bachelor's degree back in the 80s, so a lot of those credits did help me and it allowed me to get in. Otherwise, it would have just taken me too long and I would not have been qualified under the TAA and the dislocated worker programs. They would not have been able to say, yes, this is something.
Because there's certain requirements and you have to be
Right.
done with school by a certain time, and you just managed to work that out.
Yeah.
What is something that you would say to somebody who is looking at going back to school, and maybe they've been out of that environment, or maybe they've never been in that environment, and it's probably a little bit intimidating, and I think intimidating is a light way of putting it. So what would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I guess the old Nike slogan, just do it. I was fortunate in a way because of how quickly everything, the way things worked. I was pushed into it and I had to make a decision very quickly, and I didn't have time to overthink it, and I didn't have time to analyze. And I think had I done that, I may have thought, I just can't go back to school. But I didn't have the time to analyze my situation and let the fear settle in. I was jumping through hoops to see if it was even possible, and the next thing I know, I was enrolled. And the thing that I found is that I am a much better student than I ever gave myself credit for, and a lot of that has to do with the focus and adult focus, I call it, that I didn't have when I was
I
in
think
school.
that's very true for a lot of people. I think when you go back to school older, you actually pay better attention to things, and you're able to maximize the experience a little more.
Yeah, it makes you understand more why you're there. I have 20 years of life experience, and I definitely know why I'm there, what I want to get out of it, and to maximize it, get as much out of it as possible. Where a younger student, I'm just speaking from my own experience, it seemed like an extension of high school, and I wasn't really sure why I was there, and I didn't focus. So